Hey, ladies and gents, and welcome to one of our E3 conference discussions. We're going to be tackling EA right now. We have plenty to say. I'm joined, as always, by Jordan and Dominic. What's up, guys?
Beyond.
What's going on?
So, yeah, we're going to get talking about EA. First, let's get a quick synopsis or summary of what you guys felt about it. I'll go first. Overall, probably the worst conference. Didn't think it was great. Some of the announcements sprinkled in were really cool. But as an overall conference, I thought it was not good. It felt like a company that had to have a conference that didn't necessarily need to have a conference. I think they didn't have enough to show. It was evident, obviously. But yeah, it was a conference. They did the same mistakes they've been doing for years, and we'll get into that, obviously, as to why. But what's your guys' summary of this conference?
Yeah, I'm with you. It was abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, their big things, that they spent the most time on just aren't up my alley. And then the Star Wars stuff that I was most looking forward, and the Mass Effect stuff I was most looking forward to, was extremely lacking. And it really shouldn't have been shown, but yeah, you can clearly see that they just had a lack of stuff to talk about during this. They just don't have the portfolio to fill up a conference at this point.
Yeah, they should have gone the Sony route. Actually, cut that out. I forgot we're not supposed to mention other conferences. I broke my own rule. Go ahead, Jordan.
So I know we're not talking about what we've been playing, but I just wanted to say I'm not a terrible liar, and I did turn on Persona 3 this week. Second of all, yes, if we were rating this conference on the controlled interest scale, Dom is absolutely right. It would be abysmal. One of the worst conferences I've ever seen. I was chatting with you guys on Facebook about how, honestly, I was very close to just shutting it off by the end, and I watch, all of E3. I've always watched all the conferences since, I was in middle school and shit, so...
Oh, I did shut it off during Madden.
I was about ready to,
FIFA?
man, and that would have been the first time I had ever done that. I got through it because, I was just kind of focusing on other things, staying on my phone or whatever, but my God, one game announcement, this, bunk-ass indie game that looks like all other indie games to me. And it's, very much just them trying to be like, oh, we're EA, not the worst company ever. We've got these originals now, just like Unravel and stuff. It's that's just sad that they're, pandering so hard, so desperately. And then, yeah, the Star Wars stuff was a joke. Mass Effect was a joke. The sports stuff with the Madden and FIFA Ultimate Teams and the esports championships were just what the hell are you talking about right now? This is not E3 stuff that we're discussing.
Yeah. So let's get into the specifics. We'll talk about everything as we get up to it. So the first big thing they showed off was Titanfall 2. Custom Titans. They have the cool grapple hook. The single player. Personally, a lot of people think that it doesn't look great. I think it looks cool. I like the whole relationship with the mech and everything. I thought it's an interesting take. I trust Respawn in their single player campaigns. They're not known for some enriching experience. It's not The Last of Us or Uncharted or anything like that, but they are cool for shooter campaigns. We got a release date. Obviously, it comes out a week after Battlefield. Terrible timing. Me personally, I really like Titanfall. I like the series, and I'm going to be buying it over Battlefield just because of the release date. I would like to play both, but the World War II thing is cool. And World War I, sorry. And I think Battlefield is going to be a great game, but Titanfall just intrigues me more. I like the combat. It just seems like something really, really cool. I thought it looked cool. What did you guys think about Titanfall 2?
So Titanfall 2 is in a really weird spot. Obviously, that release date is just...
atrocious.
Atrocious. What the hell are you thinking, EA? You just send in the sequel of the game that you sent out to die. And, big part is the release date, but other thing is, just a observation of E3 in general this year. Way too many trailers, not nearly enough gameplay at the conferences. I wanted demos, I wanted controllers in people's hands. I didn't want to see this, stupid VR bullshit with people looking off in all different directions. Where were the gameplay demos? Titanfall 2 absolutely 110% should have had a gameplay demo this year. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, because this game is not a Battlefield. This is not a Call of Duty. It's not even a Halo. This franchise is not established yet, and EA is acting like it's all good. The first one, it may have sold decent, it may have, reviewed decent, but my God, if that game didn't get forgotten faster than almost anything else I can think of recently.
Agreed. Yep.
Why would you just send another one out to be the same situation? Go, oh yeah, we'll just smash it in there with Call of Duty and Battlefield, two of the biggest shooter franchises of all time, the two biggest shooter franchises of all time besides Halo or Gears. And then yeah, we'll just like, hope that this trailer that has gameplay in it but doesn't have a live gameplay demo on stage, which is what E3 is for, we're just going to hope that that sells everybody. And yeah, sure, it looks like a cool game. I'm down with being in a giant mech and having a sword and all this other stuff, but that trailer in no way sold me on that game. It did not get me excited or hyped. It came out before, like a day before the conference anyway, so they was just...
Well, that was a theme, though, for everybody.
Well, it was the theme, and, there were a ton of leaks this year. That's another observation of E3 in general, but that wasn't even a leak. Like, they straight up posted that about 24 hours before the conference, so I'm like, that's kind of one of your gemstones there. Like, this whole fee thing, or this whole Madden Championship, or FIFA Ultimate Team, like, you should have spent 10 minutes on Titanfall 2 and then 15 on Mass Effect, but obviously that wasn't the case.
Yeah, they would have been... This game, it looks cool. I think it looks great. It doesn't do anything for me personally. It would have been much better served if it was releasing next spring, though. I mean, yeah, you have huge, like a handful of other huge shooters coming out this fall, right? You have Gears of War, Call of Duty, and Battlefield 1, which is another EA game, which is baffling that they just put Titanfall 2 in the middle of all this. As if, like you said, Jordan, it's already established, and then it'll do fine. I think it's going to struggle.
Not even close.
Well, here's the weird thing, too. So, I don't want to cut you off, Dom, but I want to say this real quick. The first Titanfall did come out in the spring, and it was the smartest thing they could have done.
Right.
I think the reason... To me, this seems like they wanted to get this game out as soon as possible, EA did, because they want Respawn to start focusing wholeheartedly on that Star Wars game. And I think that's the huge issue, is I think they wanted them... You never know, but I think that they wanted, Respawn maybe wanted this game to come out in the spring because they knew it would probably succeed more. And EA's like, well, let's get this game out as soon as possible because we want you guys to start working full-heartedly on the Star Wars game because that's where the money will be, They probably saw those Battlefront numbers and they're like, we want to get those Battlefront numbers.
So put it on the back burner. Just, we're done with it, but we're not going to release it yet and just wait. Just save it. And then they can work on Star Wars in the meantime.
Yeah, they probably want that immediate money, though, man. That's not how publishers are usually.
Right.
They're like,
it's just
back burner.
People who play shooters, like, play it, a big game comes out and they'll play it for a couple months, right? And then move on to the next thing. But when they all come out at the same time of the year, they're only going to pick between one of them.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to play for a couple months. And then,
though I'm picking Titanfall 2, I'm not the average person. There 90 to 95% of people are going to pick Call of Duty or Battlefield. I'm the lone man out, and I understand that going in. I'm not the average person. They're not going to pick Titanfall 2 over those two games.
Here's what EA's thinking, and they're idiots for thinking this, right? They're going, oh, dude, we got this old school World War I shooter over here, and then we got this sci-fi shooter over here. That's the only thing they're going to be choosing between. No, make no mistake. The choice will be between sci-fi Call of Duty or sci-fi Titanfall, and Call of Duty's going to win that battle 9 times out of 10 with the buyer. So I don't know why they think they can push that matchup and go, oh, well, if you don't like future, then just go back to World War One, and if you don't like old stuff, then go to the future.
Yeah, they definitely don't see Battlefield 1 as a choice. They see that as a whole separate kind of thing. Like you wouldn't buy just Battlefield 1 to them.
Yeah.
That's because it's World War 1, it's so different. But I think I agree with you, they're wrong.
They may not even be thinking about a choice between Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2. They may be going, well, hell, dude, it's a week apart, and it's only $60. People are going to want, history stuff and sci-fi stuff. They're going to buy them both.
And the problem is Titanfall, for instance, Dom, you said this game looked interesting. It may not be for you, but it did look like a solid game.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Jordan said the same thing. Why are they treating their franchises like this? This could be a very popular franchise if they did it right, but they're taking every step to make sure it doesn't do that. And I think that's a constant theme throughout their conferences. Here are games. Do we care about them? Kinda.
If EA doesn't care about them, why are we going to care about them? Obviously, they didn't give a shit about Titanfall. They tossed that trailer out, like I said, before the conference, and then at the beginning they were like, yeah, here it is again if you haven't already seen it. And then they spend this bullshit 20 or so minutes on, we'll get down the line as we go, but the sports thing, and they just skim over Titanfall and Mass Effect. Those are the two franchises that people want to care about. Those are the two franchises that people want to see gameplay of, want to hear more about, want to get all the minutia of the mechanics. And then you're telling me about a a Madden esports championship in the FIFA Ultimate Team, like.
Well, and here's the biggest problem too.
I guess you were saying maybe they don't deserve a conference. Maybe they didn't have enough stuff. They did deserve a conference. Mass Effect Andromeda, Battlefield 1, Titanfall 2, a game announcement that actually matters besides fee, a Star Wars game. Like, they could have blown this shit out, and they were just talking about sports.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too: is people who are really into Madden also had a problem with this conference because when they brought up Madden, yeah, they did talk about it for like 30 to 40 minutes, but it was all the tournament stuff. They didn't show any of the new features on Madden. And yeah, I understand every year they shouldn't show as much of Madden, but the people who do watch it to see Madden, they want to see why they should buy the new one. And they didn't even cover that this year.
Yeah.
They showed Madden, and then they're like, oh yeah, here's all these tournaments, here's some pro Madden players that you'll never be as good as, yada, 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 all this. Like
Madden and FIFA players don't even give a shit about that stuff anyways. You know how small of a percentage that is of the amount of people that play those games, which is a huge, huge audience for both of those games?
Yep.
And you know how small the percentage of those audiences are that actually care about either of the two things that you talked about for 10 minutes apiece?
Yep.
Like you said, yeah, the Madden fans weren't even interested. Like, you know, I've seen cool demos where they come out and they're like, oh, here's our new juke move. Here's our new juke stick. With the right stick, you can do all these different juke moves.
They didn't do
like
any of that. It was just tournaments and stuff, yeah.
I would have been interested, and I don't give a shit about sports, you know?
And then with FIFA, they just like glossed over. So they brought out a guy on stage, a manager of some team I don't know about, to talk about all this stuff. And obviously this took place in London. But here's the thing: the biggest announcement from all this sports stuff was that FIFA has a single player campaign, which I thought was cool. But they kind of glossed over that. And like, yeah, I understand it's kind of funny, but it does. I think it does help people who are only sports gamers to get more involved in actual narrative-driven gameplay. And I think it's a cool idea, and it just seems like that should be your focus, not all this tournament stuff. Like, they focus so much on all of this tournament gameplay and yada, 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 and I think they really missed the heart of it. They, you know, Madden, come on stage, 10 minutes, talk about what's new with Madden. FIFA, come on stage, we have a single player. You don't have to announce all of this other bullshit. People who are invested in those games know about that stuff, or they'll find out. Like, you should be talking about the features that make this unique. Move on. Features that make this unique. Stop bringing on a sports person to talk for 15 minutes.
Yeah, like
I'm huge into sports, but I don't want to see that either. Like, I don't. Like,
I don't even know if soccer fans gave a shit that Pele was on stage with him. Like
last year, yeah.
Yeah, like there's places that you can go to ESPN or you can go to ESPN.com, wherever the hell on the internet you want to go to get your sports fix and to see, you know, LeBron James. He does. After every NBA game, he does a press conference where he just talks about the game. Yeah. So why do we need a sports celebrity to come out and talk about sports? Like, that is covered in just the world. And so, yeah, then they could have done a cool deep dive on that single-player campaign. All they did was a really, like, cinematic trailer, and then they bring out this fake-ass version of the guy from the game spitting off these stupid lines about, you don't know me, but you will. It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. What are you guys doing?
I'm the captain now.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool feature, and it seems like they don't know where to focus on. So we covered sports. We're done with that. We don't want to talk about that anymore. EA, take notes. So
they did Mass Effect before sports, right?
I have listed sports and then Mass Effect, so I might have it out of order, but either way. So Mass Effect up next. Now, the big thing is we didn't get what we want to see. There was little to no gameplay. Jordan argues that we didn't see any gameplay, which is a wholehearted agreement. I do see where it's coming from. It could totally be the case. I don't want to play the devil's advocate in this because I do think that it's weird that we didn't see anything. But I am happy to see something from Mass Effect. And I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, and I'm not trying to give EA the benefit of the doubt and be happy about it. Like, I am kind of mad that they didn't show everything we want to see. But I am glad we saw something.
Okay.
And I know it's a bad route to take, but the stuff I did see, I got excited for. But yeah, man, no gameplay. Come on.
Seems weird. It seems weird. Right now, I'm thinking this is going to get pushed into the fall of 2017.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
I'm worried. Yeah,
dude. What they did was essentially had one of the BioWare developers come out, some random dude, not even like had a studio or whatever, and then just said how we've been working really hard and here's what we got to show you, and then it's essentially a dev diary trailer that has tiny snippets, less than 1 second long a piece, clips of kind of gameplay that doesn't even have a UI in it, doesn't even have like a lot of the stuff that a finished game would, so I don't consider it like actual true gameplay, just like I wouldn't consider that thing that we saw with Criterion a couple years ago where it was just them like in a tech demo with four-wheelers and stuff. Like, that's not actually gameplay, because gameplay, you got to get farther down the road for me personally.
Yeah.
What I'm really most upset about is, yes, the fact that they didn't, like, this could have been Mass Effect's coming out party. Even if it's coming out next fall, this still would have been the perfect time to just blow it up. You're going to tell me that they don't even have a gameplay demo ready? Like,
if this comes out next fall, I'm okay with them not showing gameplay.
Dude, but think about, like, okay, Dishonored 2. Think about how much Dishonored 2 we saw last year, and it was being announced and then coming out the next fall. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, I could talk about 10 different games that way, like God of War. Think how much God of War we saw, Jared, and it's probably going to come out before Mass Effect, I bet.
I will bet you $1 million that doesn't happen. That God of War trailer looked like a tech demo. I don't want to get into the PlayStation until we talk about
tech demo. That Mass Effect shit was nothing, dude.
Well, I'm not saying the Mass Effect thing was better. Yeah, I'm not saying the Mass Effect stuff was better. I'm just saying
God of War stuff was at least like people are playing that on the show floor. People are picking up DualShock 4 controllers and manipulating those characters and fighting and action, combat, all that shit.
Yeah, let's get back
Mass
to EA
Effect
though.
is like, yeah, but I'm using that as a lens for EA.
Yeah.
No one's on the show floor playing Mass Effect. Those tiny 2-second snippets aren't long enough to play anyways. Like that and even if God of War comes out afterwards, you know, just an example, like, they screwed up big time. And honestly, I was like sad that you weren't more pissed about this, Jared. I was like, because you've been a Mass Effect fan longer than I have. Like, have, you know, said that that's one of your favorite series. And if they did that with, like, let's say Witcher 4 got announced today, and then next E3 they didn't show us shit, but then it came out next fall, I'd be like, what the fuck, man? Sure, it's still an amazing 10 out of 10 close to game. Sure, I'm still absolutely loving the gameplay, but, like, I want some pageantry here. Like, that's what E3 is for. It's the biggest weekend games, and it's the time for these publishers to really show us, like, yo, here's what we got. Like, this is why you want to play Mass Effect Andromeda. Who in the hell that isn't a Mass Effect fan that hasn't played the original trilogy has watched these last 3 E3s that they've talked about Mass Effect Andromeda and gone, wow, I really want to get into that game. Even the CG trailer from last year was so short and barely really gave you an idea of what you would be doing that I think they're not attracting anyone to the Mass Effect franchise, and that's what they should be doing in this lead up to launch. Like, they could be adding fans. They could obviously be re-releasing the original trilogy on these new consoles, which they've said they aren't going to do. They could be gathering fans, and then they're going to sell more copies. Like, how is that too hard for them to understand?
I understand where you're coming from, saying that you're surprised I'm not as disgruntled as I should be. The thing is, a lot of this, I think, has to do with Casey Hudson leaving and them getting new leadership. I think a lot of this stuff was pushed back.
You think it was like a what's her name at Naughty Dog, Amy Hennig at Naughty Dog with Uncharted 4 type deal?
It's definitely development hell. Yeah,
I think. I mean, I have no doubt. I shouldn't say no doubt. I'm pretty confident that this game will be good when it comes out.
Sure.
But I do think that, you know, this has to do with the Casey Hudson thing, and that's why I'm not mad, because I'm kind of, you know, making my expectations more reasonable, because I understand that he left, and there could have been some kind of shakeup there, you know.
Yeah.
In general, this whole EA conference sucked balls, and I think that's what lends more to this being so disheartening. Like, I think people would still be frustrated if they didn't show Mass Effect, but if they would have went balls to the wall you were talking about, and maybe Mass Effect was the thing that was like, we still got this, then I think it would be a lot more understandable. But the fact that the whole conference was shit, on top of getting this bullshit with Mass Effect, I think that lends to people being more disgruntled, because it's like, okay, we didn't get Mass Effect or anything else.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and
I think that's the issue.
I know for a fact that Mass Effect was before the sports shit, because I remember chatting with you guys saying,
yep,
really, we get 2 minutes of Mass Effect and, you know, 30 minutes of sports? So that was a big thing. Like, yeah, if Titanfall 2 had gone before it and been awesome, and then we get tiny little Mass Effect, and then they don't spend all this time on sports and go straight into awesome Battlefield 1, yeah, I probably wouldn't be nearly as pissed. But just the fact that they dropped the ball on every single occasion, announcing games, amount of time spent on sports, the amount of time spent on Battlefield, Titanfall, and Mass Effect that could have been their big stuff. They dropped the ball across the board.
It's all relative. You spend
Yeah.
2 minutes on Mass Effect, but then you spend 40 minutes on sports.
Yeah.
If you spend, it's all about pacing too. Like if you spend the 2 minutes on Mass Effect, but then you spend 5 minutes on Madden, 5 minutes on FIFA, and then you get into, and if there was actually something with Star Wars, which we'll get into right now.
Yeah.
I think like it's all relative. I think the reason that Mass Effect stung so hard is because everything stung so hard. You know.
Yeah.
Let's get into Star Wars.
Real quick, one more point about Mass
okay,
Effect
go
that
ahead.
you kind of already made. I just want to say, or maybe Dom made. You said development
Okay.
hell. This showing of Mass Effect at E3 this year. See, that's what I was saying is they're supposed to be building hype with these things. And
I don't think they
what
want to build the
did-
hype yet, though, because I think this is in development hell, and
They
so
want
I
to
think
stall the hype. But what
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
about
this
to
is-
say is
Go ahead,
this
sorry.
thing got me not super worried, but definitely worried for Mass Effect Andromeda. I think, this studio has proven itself time and time again, not only with Mass Effect, but also the Dragon Age series. They've shown us that they can do a next-gen RPG in their style, but still, I am worried about Mass Effect, no doubt.
I think it's usually with BioWare, I don't give two thoughts to whether or not the game's going to be good or bad. It's a BioWare game.
Yeah,
I think with
yeah.
this, it creeps a little bit of doubt, but I'm still super sold on this game. But there is a little bit of doubt now. I think Gamescom is going to be super indicative of where this game lays as far as if it's going to get delayed to fall or not. If we have a huge Mega Buster thing at Gamescom and it's like, here's Mass Effect, then okay, they're on track, right?
Yeah.
And maybe EA didn't want them to show a lot because they're like, we don't have a lot of other stuff to show, and the sports thing is really important to us, so we kind of don't want that to get overshadowed by Mass Effect, because who cares about that? I'm talking about from EA's perspective, because
Yeah.
Lord knows that can only be their perspective. Maybe it was something weird like that. We don't know. We'll never know, you know?
Do you guys think that we'll see BioWare's new IP before Mass Effect Andromeda comes out?
We'll
Because
see
do you
it,
remember?
maybe.
Well, do you remember the thing? I can't remember what conference it was. I think it was PSX, where one of the higher ups at Mass Effect was wearing a T-shirt around the conference that had the picture of their new IP, but it didn't have the name, and nobody noticed it, and so no one's there aren't even pictures on the internet.
We will.
That could be it too. Maybe they want a BioWare blowout. Maybe they want to do Mass Effect huge and then the new IP huge.
I'm just
That could be
almost
the case,
wondering,
too.
because they're probably two teams, pretty
Yeah.
much separate at this point. They are a pretty big studio, so I'm thinking maybe, maybe Mass Effect Andromeda was revealed, like I said, in that dev diary, 3 years ago, back when Casey Hudson was still
But then
there.
the team split maybe, and now they don't have
Right.
the same workforce.
Well, but maybe I'm thinking, way back then, they weren't thinking about this other new IP when they revealed Mass Effect, but they haven't revealed this new IP. I'm thinking maybe they're trying to be with the way that they destroyed our expectations in that E3 demo just now, I'm thinking maybe they're saying, forget about Mass Effect for a minute, and then, what if next summer, before Mass Effect, the new IP comes out?
Yeah, maybe that's their Gamescom announcement, because they want everything to be on the shoulders of that game.
When you said they were trying to, quieten the hype, essentially, for Mass Effect, that really got my gears going. What if they really are telling people, shut the hell up about Mass Effect? I know that we showed it to you way too fucking early with that dev diary when it was not even called Mass Effect Andromeda, but, it's not coming around that soon.
Yeah. So we're gonna get to the end here. Star Wars. We're gonna get Star Wars. I don't think we'll have a whole lot to say. You do have some very important points, but we have that, and then we have Battlefield, and then we're good on the EA conference. So Star Wars. I know you two are huge. You guys are way bigger Star Wars fans than I am.
I mean, there's nothing
we
to talk
mention-
about because we didn't
I
see
get-
anything.
Before we have the non-existent Star Wars discussion, should we talk about the EA originals real quick?
Oh yeah. So this goes back to the whole relative thing for me. I think Fee looked like a cool game if it wasn't one of the games that got the most gameplay out of everything.
Yep.
How come the I think that's the reason why a lot of people were pushed off by it, is because, it's like, oh, this is the game you're showing us. Well, this is an indie game. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Whereas if there was a bunch of other games with huge gameplay and all this stuff, then people would be
Titanfall
like,
2?
yeah, it'd be like, awesome. Oh, cool indie game. Awesome. Instead it was like,
Indie game, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad game. I do see where you're coming from. It does look like any other indie game. I do think it looks cool though, and I do like that they're catering toward this. I would say more catering, less pandering. And it's EA, so it could be either or. We never know.
Yeah, to me, it's 100% pandering.
I thought it looked like a cool game, but in relation to everything else, yeah, I do like though that they talked about indie games. That's something that Microsoft did that none of the other three conferences did. Yeah, so I appreciate them doing that. Even if it's pandering, they're talking about it. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say. I thought Fee looked cool, but relatively speaking, it was a disappointment to people watching.
So I just want to say something about the originals real quick. You're talking about how it's relative, Jared, and how it wouldn't have hurt as much if we had seen some of this other gameplay.
Yeah,
dude. You were saying like it's not too much pandering; it's more just catering, dude. That was such a slap in the face to me. Me personally, I was like, "Fuck you, EA," and you know what? Screw Peter Moore too, coming out there. That looks absolutely amazing after every demo. I'm like, dude, you're showing off FIFA cards. You're showing off pictures of players for an Ultimate Team. Like, there's no gameplay there. Don't tell me that looks amazing. You're just trying to tell me how to feel here. Like,
yeah.
The EA Originals thing was such a slap in the face. It was like, all right, we've got another Central European developer who's kind of nervous and kind of awkward. Let's throw him out here to the wolves and see how that happens. Also, we'll be announcing EA Originals, which is a prolific string of pandering for all years to come, where we'll give you a 7.8 decent indie game that no one will even care about 2 months after it comes out, and we're gonna stick this in the middle of our conference and make this like a decent focal point. Like, they were totally patting themselves on the back, like, EA Originals, we're going indie type of deal. And I'm like, dude, you're focusing on, so now not only at this point are they not focusing on the things that that I want them to, but they're also really focusing on things that I really don't want them to, as far as just the EA Originals program in general. To me, is a slap in the face to us consumers that are wanting to buy these awesome EA games. We already have a wealth of independent studios on all consoles doing the job that EA is now trying to jam themselves into. EA is supposed to be making big AAA sports titles, shooters, and action-adventure RPGs. That's what you guys are good at. Please go do that. Leave me the hell alone with this bullshit cat running around in an indie game. Like, I can see that anywhere at any time on the PSN or Xbox Live for $15. You're not doing anything for me. You're really just, it's like
they want to cut of the pie. That's why.
Well, but it's also when these huge corporations, like, all over the store, like you go in Walmart or Target and it's talking about how much they give to charity and shit. It's like, dude, fuck you. You don't do shit for charity. Like, if you these billionaire corporations, if they really wanted to help poor people, could obviously do it like that. And this is the same deal.
I understand where you're coming from. It's a good graces deal of trying to be hip and cool and with it when you're not. Yeah,
but the pandering to me is not just pandering. It's like going 2 steps too far to where they're patting themselves on the back and they're like sticking their fingers in where they have no business being. So I know I'm kind of like blowing up on this tiny little part of the conference, but if it had just been Fee, it would have been different. But the fact that they added in the EA Originals and they're like, yeah, we're like adding this to our staple, like we're making this a part of our business, even though you obviously don't want it.
Well, the worst part is they announced EA Originals and Fee was the only one. Like, if they would have showed EA Originals and then showed a bevy of games, like, cool. It's like, here's an indie game, here's an announcement for games we haven't signed yet, but we'll find some cool shit you might like. We'll figure out what the kids are into these days. If they would actually had a lineup,
like ID at Xbox.
Yeah. It was really weird.
How are you going to tell me, like, EA, you're seriously going to come into the indie industry, which actual independent developers are scraping to the bone to try to get every dollar they can, is work their fucking asses off just to get in front of people and get attention, and now this mega corporation EA just wants to pay for these indie studios to make a game to make them look good. And then you're going to tell me, like, you're going to, release one of these games a year and EA's just going to fucking change the landscape? They're going to be so unique that it actually pushes the medium forward and helps us progress? No, they're just trying to make an extra buck and look good because they're still... Dude, EA's ego is so big they can't get over this worst company in America shit from like 4 years ago.
Yeah. Real quick, Star Wars not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, sorry about the whole EA Originals rant there, but it pissed me off.
What's your guys' favorite dev diary from the Star Wars?
What's your favorite E3 dev diary that we saw? Come on.
Why was it even like just...
Dude, that Star Wars shit. You want to talk about EA Originals pissing me off, man. Dom, what do you have to say, Dom?
Why? Like, so we already know that these two things were happening. Motive and Visceral are making these games, and we know Amy Hennig's directing one or whatever else. That's all we really need to know, and that's still all we found out. So I don't know why. I don't get it.
The best parts about that whole Star Wars demonstration was the Amy Hennig interview thing and the Respawn messing with lightsabers. That doesn't need to be at E3. You could have put up a video on YouTube with that stuff.
Yeah.
Those are the best parts of that whole thing. And
tell me one thing from the EA conference that did need to be at E3. Was it
That
Zac
did need to be
Efron
at
and
E3?
Jamie Foxx acting awkward as shit when talking about the Battlefield 1 tournament? Was it the FIFA Ultimate Teams? Was it the fee for 2 seconds? All of this shit could have been just like, oh yeah, we're EA. Here's our YouTube video about a dev diary. Like, you'll get plenty of people watching.
So we obviously didn't have much to say about Star Wars. That's that.
Yeah,
whatever.
Star Wars, my one point would be that they came out and said, hey guys, we know you're really excited about all these 4 or 5 Star Wars games or whatever. Let us tell you what you already know. And then they left. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Hey, we want to let you know that Visceral, Motive, and Respawn are making Star Wars games. So we're going to show you a picture of Visceral, Star Wars, and Respawn making a Star Wars game.
Yeah, we're going to show you the text logo from their studio. Not even like, oh, here's a concept art picture or anything.
Yeah. Let's get into Battlefield 1, which is probably that and Titanfall 2 are the only things that deserve to be shown at E3 in the EA conference. Obviously, Mass Effect deserved it, but we didn't get it. So, Battlefield 1. Dom had to go, so we're going to be doing this 2-man. We'll get through this real quick.
Fireside Groove.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not going to be buying Battlefield 1. By no means does that say that I'm not intrigued by this game. It's just, I have 2 shooters coming out within a week. I don't have a large expendable income, and I'm choosing Titanfall 2 over Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
Game looks cool. Battlefield campaigns necessarily aren't deep. It'd be cool if they did something really cool with the World War I setting. It looks interesting. It looks fun. There was the trailer that played through E3 17 times.
Oh my god.
Also,
yes.
there was, I don't think there was, correct me if I'm wrong, but was there actual gameplay during the E3 conference, the EA conference? Actual gameplay?
Nope.
Yeah, shocker.
Yeah, so that's okay. I'm sorry. Finish your thought because I'm just about to.
Okay, so I just have some notes. It was historically accurate for the most part, in quotations. Obviously, how historically accurate can be in a video game.
Yeah.
And the many environments look cool. Looked like there was going to be a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different things. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm not super excited for Battlefield. I never have been. They're never my shooters of choice. But I'm excited for people who are excited for Battlefield 1. I wish we got some gameplay other than a 64-man tournament after the press conference with a bunch of celebrities that I didn't even know played video games and didn't look like they knew how to play video games. So what do you have to say about Battlefield?
My favorite part about the Battlefield 1 thing was watching Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa smoke blunts on the show floor of E3.
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
That was the best part, but as if I needed another reason to say fuck EA on this podcast, but fuck EA for showing us a teaser of a trailer that they were going to show us in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? So they showed, for those that didn't watch, they showed the first 20 seconds of this trailer, and then it just stops, and you're like, wait, what? I thought they were showing the trailer. And then this guy comes out and talks about not the game, but the trailer itself. And then they continue playing the trailer, but they started
from the beginning.
Over. Yeah. And then the next morning, the very next day, as if they weren't able to talk to Microsoft and figure out what was going on. The very next day, Microsoft shows the exact same trailer. So yeah, like you said, it's shown 12 times.
Which that's not Microsoft's fault. They got the assets from EA, so it's EA's here, show this trailer we already showed.
I mean, it's on both of them because that's just stupid. But
yeah,
hell, even when Todd Howard came out on the Bethesda or the Microsoft stage last year to talk about Fallout, at least he was he had already mentioned mods in the Bethesda conference, but he came out and explained mods.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it kind of felt samey, and they might have even showed another same trailer in that instance, but give us something new, man. And yeah, you're just going to sit there, once again, too many trailers, not enough demos. You're just going to talk about Battlefield, and then you're going to be like, yeah, and I'm sure you'll stick around for this, celebrity pandering tournament that we're going to play in just a minute. So, dude, I know I've already said it a bunch, but fuck EA, dude. Like, this was terrible. The way that they handled every single little situation was just not only abysmal, but embarrassing. Like, I felt embarrassed for EA this entire time. They announced one game, this tiny little fee. They, obviously just screwed up wholeheartedly on Mass Effect. Even if that game doesn't come out till spring 2018, they screwed up Mass Effect. And then, yeah, too many trailers, not enough demos. Titanfall 2 could have been awesome. That could have actually sold copies. For me, a huge part of E3, and everyone knows this, it's hype. Hype is huge at E3. And so, a big part of these conferences, especially for me personally, is what games are you guys getting me excited for? What games are you selling me on? Big is the biggest part. And at the other conferences, I was sold on at least one game from every other conference. And EA, not only did they not sell me on any of their games whatsoever, but some of their games they made me less interested in. Mass Effect, for example, and even Titanfall. I was more hyped on Titanfall than I am now.
Yeah. Normally this would be the point where I would ask you guys what you thought was the best announcement. Well, just me and you, I guess. The best announcement for the conference. And it's literally like picking the shiniest turd here.
Yep.
For me, I would have to say Titanfall 2 just because it's the game I'm going to be buying.
But that's the thing is, you're not even picking turds here. There's only one announcement, and that was Fee. I guess you could say there's two announcements, Fee and then EA Originals. But yeah, Titanfall 2 we already knew about. Battlefield we already knew about. So no announcements really besides Fee.
Well, I guess, yeah. So the thing I'm most excited for that was at the conference, I guess, was Titanfall 2.
Okay.
It was going to be Mass Effect Andromeda, but, there's nothing. I don't know when that game's coming out, obviously. So
yeah.
Titanfall 2 is it's closer. And I do agree with you that press conferences are for hype, but they're also to get you excited for things that are just around the corner. It's a mix of both.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to be hyped for things that are a little bit off, but you also want to be excited for things that are coming soon, that are going to be in your hands. And that's where they missed the mark. They had the hype now, which is Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1, and they really didn't blow it off like they should have.
What is E3 for if not for some hype, Jared?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's for hype, but I think there's two different types of hype. I think it's for distant hype, and I think it's for immediate hype. And I think you have to kind of play that fiddle correctly. And yeah,
they just took the fiddle and smashed it on the ground. They're like, "Does that sound right, guys?"
Yeah,
Peter Moore's like, "That's absolutely amazing."
Closing thoughts. I thought it was the worst conference by far. Not even close. Didn't live up to expectations. Since we're talking about the conference, I'll just say that we actually got two predictions right. Jordan said even more Star Wars, which is technically correct because they said they were working on Battlefront 2, so we gave the point. They didn't say anything about KOTOR 3, which would have been awesome. They didn't say Titanfall 2 coming out in November. Didn't happen. Battlefront campaign DLC. Why would they do that? That would be like they cared. And then Motive's new game title, which technically is Star Wars Battlefront 2, so I got half a point for that. And then Dead Space VR game. Why would they show Dead Space?
Dude, where the fuck was Dead Space 4? Where the fuck was Skate 4?
Yeah.
You want to talk about them bringing the hype and them, getting people going and getting people talking about EA in a positive light? That's it right there.
Yep. I just, EA was what it was. You heard plenty of conversation about what it wasn't. So, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the EA conference. You, Jordan, any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, I think. Another thing I want to bring up is the Criterion game. Really? You're going to show us that like a year or two ago when it's not even close to being a game yet? And then you're going to show us actual gameplay of this game that isn't a game yet. And then, of course, haven't heard a single peep about it, not just E3, but just in general, since a year or two ago when we first saw that. But yet you can't even show us Mass Effect gameplay when that game is clearly at least halfway done. There's no way it isn't at least 50% done, or it would be a 2018, fall release.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're really going to tell me that you could do this bullshit with Criterion, but you couldn't hook us up with some Mass Effect gameplay? And then also, where the fuck was the Criterion game? That has to be at least some simulation of a game by this point. You have to think that they could at least show you a trailer from that. And what does EA think? What do you guys fucking think? That we're just gonna, you can pop some shit in front of our face at one E3 and then we're just gonna forget it by the next year?
Yeah.
You can't do that to people, man. I really, really, really hate that when these companies come out to E3, do their press conference, show something, reveal something for the very first time, not even something that was leaked or anything, and then they're just going to act like, oh yeah, well, we'll get it to you when we can get it to you. That's fine, but don't be building up this hype so steadily and then just drop it off. Same thing with Mass Effect. You can't just like, give us a dev diary, then give us a CG trailer. What's next? Obviously gameplay, and then you give us another dev diary? Nah. EA, listen up, Jared. I know we got tons of publishers that are big fans of controlled interest, right?
Yeah.
EA, listen up. Next year, if you don't bring the hype, you're in big trouble, man. I may not even buy Mass Effect day one. Bring the hype, E3. Show me why I should be purchasing your video game titles.
Here's the thing. My suggestion: every company out there that does a press conference, including EA, download this conference, save it. This is what you should show yourself every year when you're planning your conference. Do everything opposite of this.
Also, listen to controlled interest. We won't steal your own.
Yeah. I think this is a blueprint of how to have a terrible conference.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, those are our thoughts on the EA discussion. We're gonna have plenty more discussions for each individual conference coming later this week as these are uploaded.
E3 hype.
Yep. Also check out our controlled interest Gamecast episode where we talk about our game of the year and all those discussions. Thank you guys for joining us. Jordan, you're the only one here, so you have any closing thoughts?
All I've got to say, I know we talked a bunch of shit. I know I sounded probably pretty negative here in this discussion. But besides EA, man, I got a lot of stuff that I was really, really, really excited about from E3 2016. So, once again, the hype is strong with this one.
Yep. Catch you guys next time. Bye.